Why do people get stuck? Why do people tend to get in their own ways? Why are people anxious? Why are people afraid to face themselves and to create a space of quiet and stillness, whatever that means, to look into themselves and to connect with the deepest part of themselves that many of us have seemingly forgotten? These are just some of the questions, some of many questions, that I have been thinking about for a little while now. And I feel like now's the time. I feel that many of my friends are suffering. Not just friends, even people that I am meeting for the first time. They're suffering too. I don't know if it's because I am facing my emotional struggles, and in that awareness, for some reason, I am now having awareness of the emotions that others are feeling, but for whatever reason, call it serendipity, call it whatever you want, I am getting a powerful nudge to share some of my observations when it comes to the things that we face in our modern life. On a personal note, I am going through a lot of change, as we all do. In today's modern world, there is so much change that it's easy to get caught up in all of it, in all the noise, and to lose sight of the clear path ahead. For me, I only have my story. I have my learnings. And it is my hope that in conversations like this, here on YouTube, that I just share my experiences, and for you to take what you want, leave the rest. I'm only here to share some of the things that have been helpful for me. May or may not necessarily be helpful for you, but like all the other people that are out there talking about psychology or dealing with the struggles, dealing with trauma, dealing with anxiety. There's a lot of opinions out there. There's a lot of psychologists out there. I have spent many, many years studying psychology, and so I have an idea of some of the things that they're talking about. But in all my time that I've been listening to the guidance out there, I've made an incredibly important insight, and that is to really fully understand the information that's out there. You have got to embody the understandings to fully appreciate what it means. And I know that sounds a little bit cryptic, and it is my hope that in the future, in future videos, that is, I am going to go a little bit more in depth into what it is that I'm talking about. This is just my first video, obviously. And I really don't have much of a outline or talking points. I just wanted to hit record, and I felt like now is the time to do it. And just simply talk about whatever happens to come into my mind. In short, who's going to be interested in what I have to say? Well, if you are someone who is lonely or feels disconnected, and by the way, you can know a lot of people. You can surround yourself with a lot of people when you're at work or at social functions, and still feel lonely. Because what I've noticed is a lot of the interactions that I have with people are lacking depth. Now, fortunately, I have made it... Let me backtrack. Let me say that I've made a very strong intention to develop a meaningful connection with other people by being vulnerable and by opening myself up to people. These are a combination of old and new friends, and in quite a few cases with people I've just met. And in being vulnerable and in being emotionally open, I have been able to create a meaningful connection. And I have to tell you, it's wonderful. I feel like a lot of people have forgotten how to do that. I think it's getting worse. I think our world, as it is today, with all the noise that's out there, with all of the stimuli, all the ways that our attention is being dragged this way and that, all over the place, right? Attention is scattered, and we are forgetting to look into the person, looking into the eyes of the person that we're talking to, listening to what they say, taking it in, and it to be reciprocated back for the other person to take in what we have to say and to have a meaningful, deep conversation. I have a lot of thoughts on this. So this is the reason why this might sound a little bit scattered. That's okay. Perfectionism has been one of my problem areas. And there was a time when I would have never made a video where I am just going all over the place. I would have spent quite a bit of time laying down the script and thinking carefully about what I would say, how I would say it. That's not the goal here, at least this time. Now, in the future, I will be a little bit more on track with my points. So if you are beginning to wonder if I'm just one of those people that just talks without any kind of structure or logic, do not fear. I am just gathering whatever emerges off the top of my head. So a little bit about me real quick. And I haven't really shared with very many people my background, but I think it's relevant to share at least some bits of my background here today. So I do, of course, enjoy books, as you might observe behind me. These, I have not read all of them. I like to think that these books behind me serve as an important reminder of how little I know, and to also serve as a reminder that a lot of times the most important guidance comes from within. The wonderful words that are written by the authors of the books behind me, they each have found their own ways of addressing whatever questions that they are posing in those books. Because most of those books behind me are related to psychology or philosophy or neuroscience or some area of science in general. I'm a fan of nonfiction. But the wonderful thing about this world is we each have to embody our understanding of the world and ourselves and how we navigate through this world. The thoughts shared to us by others are just merely suggestions. They may work with you or they may not. The beauty is you get to decide. It's entirely up to you. And over time, like in my case, over the years, after reading enough of these books and getting ideas on how to live a good life, I have come to realize that certain patterns of understanding are surfacing over and over again and are amplified by my personal experience. And also, I feel very much like I am finally, at long last, beginning to settle in and feeling it within my body what it means to surrender to the way I move through this world. Okay, I know that sounds a little bit out there. I would like to think that as I make more of these videos, I will begin to find the words and, more importantly, find my voice that can better reflect what it is that I have written in my journals or that I've thought about. And speaking of journals, I have spent an inordinate amount of time journaling over the past year. Now, all throughout my life, I have written notes. I have jotted down ideas here and there, but I never really journaled. And by journaling, the way I define that is to make it a practice, to sit down with the intention of writing down whatever happens to be in my mind, and to also use that period of time to express my gratitude and to reflect on recent experiences, observations, perhaps things that may have not been in alignment with my values. I will have to say that after over a year of consistent journaling, the people that promote journaling are right. Journaling is a game changer. I have a lot of theories about that, and it's from a neuroscience point of view primarily, along with a little bit of non-neuroscience type reasons. But I will have to say that journaling is probably one of the easiest things to do that yields the greatest impact on organizing the mind and to enable an amazing opportunity to see the patterns of thoughts that persist and to gain new insights into where perhaps the stories we tell ourselves may fall flat. Again, there's a lot of things here that I could probably go into. But that's for another time. So, back to me. Books. I've been voraciously seeking out books all my life, as far back as I can remember anyway, at least since middle school. Chasing for ideas that helps me to feel safe in the world, ultimately. When I was young, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. I'm half Japanese, and I've lived both in Japan and in the United States in my youth. And I never really felt like I completely 100% belonged, no matter where I lived. So that was hard. I was the only child. And books were one of the places where I felt like I had a connection to something. It's not until more recently that I realized that the books allowed me to connect to myself, ultimately, and to do so in a way that made me feel safe. Took a long time to come to that realization, but I've arrived. Also, when I was young, because I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere, I also struggled to find my voice. I was incredibly shy kid. I was so shy. And it took many years to even have a little bit of confidence to speak up in class by a simple yes or no type of thing to say. Yeah. And so I spent a lot of time as a kid talking into a microphone, actually, like this. I was incredibly insecure about my voice. The way that I would pronounce was not good at all. And so I would record myself talking, and I would work on the way I would enunciate the words. I would usually take a book, and I would read the book aloud, record that, play it back, and listen to the way I would pronounce the words, my cadence, my tone, all that sort of thing. And I would practice until I got to the point where I felt like my voice did not sound like garbage. I don't know if as I recall, I don't know if I've ever gotten to the place where I felt 100% comfortable. I mean, who does, really? But I got to the point where I was at least like, this'll get by. This is workable. And that's that. And I stopped doing all that tape recording business. But I did that for a good handful of years through middle school. And around that time, and even before then, I had spent time pretending to do videos where I would pretend to be like a teacher. I felt very comfortable around teachers as a kid, so I guess that would make sense that I would emulate my favorite teachers. I would go into the bathroom and pretend that I'm explaining something, whether it's if I had toys, I would probably pretend a particular scene. Who knows? I would pretend. But that's what I did. So, what else about me? So, I don't know. I'm a very curious person. I studied science in college, psychology, neuroscience, a little bit of math, a little bit of engineering in the earlier days of college, and so I like to look at things from a scientific point of view. I love the idea of experimentation. I love the idea of trying out different perspectives on any given problem, and to carefully record observations and that sort of thing. So I think with anything that I talk about in these videos, in these forthcoming videos, I will certainly utilize my scientific lens in anything that I talk about. As I mentioned before, I feel like a lot of people are struggling right now. I've had many people ask questions of me about how I am dealing with change and with the uncertainty of life, with anxiety, with a sense of not having purpose in life, of self-identity. And so I have done quite a few things to help myself. One of which is journaling, which I've already mentioned. Another is yoga. That's another fantastic practice. It is strange to look into a video, or actually, it's strange to look into the camera and talk like this. And I just want you guys to know, all of you guys, that you're not alone. And the wonderful, wonderful thing about technology is that I can make this video and connect to you in a way that was certainly not possible not that long ago. It's pretty amazing, actually. And I am not willing to lose sight of that. For all of the marvels of technology, I would have loved to have had YouTube when I was a kid. And my hope is that for all of the time that I've spent helping myself feel safe in this world, and for all the things that I've experienced, and for all of my successes and failures, that my perspective, my lens, my unique experiences might provide just the difference you might be seeking that will make a difference. I am an incredibly curious person by nature. I love new ideas, new insights, new ways of looking at things. I like to keep my mind open. I like to never close the door on any particular idea. I like to think that I am cultivating. Bleh. I feel like to think I'm cultivating awe as much as I can in anything that I do. Because life is great. It's wonderful. It's just to experience every moment fully without getting in our own ways is oftentimes hard. It's oftentimes challenging with all the noise of the world. And just briefly, my general impression is that because the noise of the world is grabbing at us and providing us with so many stories that ultimately places our nervous systems in an alarm state, it means we're constantly on edge. It means that we're constantly in a fight or flight response or survival mode, because we are always on the ready for that next signal that might threaten our way of life, our safety. And what does that mean when we're in this particular state? It means we're got our sympathetic nervous system activated. It means our cortisol levels are up, adrenaline's up. A lot of the aspects of ourselves that makes for a lot of tension and anxiety and all those negative feelings that aren't so pleasant. What's connected to an alarmed nervous system? The ego. The ego is a word you hear about a lot. A lot of definitions out there. Well, they're all generally pointing in the right direction, but for me, the ego is basically a construct that's in place to protect ourselves. And if our nervous systems are constantly in an alarmed state, well, our ego is also activated because they go hand in hand. Now, if we were in a calm state, if we were not in an alarmed state, when our parasympathetic nervous system takes the driver's seat, the ego loosens, it relaxes. And what takes its place is our core selves, our inner self, our child self, our curiosity, our joyful side, the side of us that wants to dance, the side of us that wants to play and laugh and live in the moment and not think about the future, not worry about it or the past. All the energy is in the moment. You may have heard it described as flow. That's about right. And people talk about flow quite a bit, and there's ways where you can make the conditions to facilitate the emergence of flow. A lot of times, sports is a fantastic way of doing that, where you're using the body as a way to ease the mind into that relaxed state that releases the ego. So yeah, that's some bits and pieces about my approach to what I think is the way to live a life fully engaged in a way that's aligned with a calm approach, a joyful approach. So I know I'm all over the place. I don't know. If you're still with me, thank you very much. I'm just glad that I am getting this video just out there into the ether, into the digital universe, as it were. And hopefully in the future, I will be doing videos that's related to some of the things I've been talking about today. My current interests are in dealing with transitions and change. I think the ideal person will be somebody that's in midlife, but not necessarily. You know, anyone that struggles with relationships, struggles with finding purpose, finding meaning. Someone who is interested in asking the questions that really dig deep into the fundamental first principle aspects of themselves. I know that doesn't make sense, but I just don't want to take up too much more time. But that's a starting point. I may also talk about running. I'm a runner. I don't remember if I've said that already, but I do like to run. I've run primarily marathons and half marathons. And so here and there, I might talk a little bit about some of the tips and tricks of running, and then how running can relate back to creating benefits for the other aspects of life. I'll talk about yoga, since that's something that I recently started, and how yoga has benefited me greatly in all aspects of my life. I may talk about journaling. And I might talk about Japanese philosophy, just randomly. And I can talk about this crazy mug that's back over here. So, this mug is the same mug that Craig Ferguson has on his show. I don't know if any of you guys know Craig Ferguson, but this is my tribute to him. He has a way of looking at things that I can relate to and I appreciate. And as I do more of these videos, maybe that side of me might that I don't know if goofy, maybe, I don't know. I haven't really found the words to describe Craig Ferguson's humor, but I don't know. I have a feeling that he and I are similar in some ways. Not always, but in enough ways. But anyway, but at least we share tastes in mugs. So cheers. All right, that goes right back there. Okay, so if you are interested at all, well, first off, if you were able to make sense of what I said, and your curiosity is piqued, and you're like, he said a lot of words here, but some of what he said might be interesting. Well, that's the case. If you feel that way, please keep an eye out for more videos. And until then, please be kind to yourself and others, and cultivate the light within you so that you might share that light with others. And lastly, don't always believe the stories you have constructed for yourself. All right, cheers. Until next time.